Morning. It is Wednesday. Wednesday, June 14th. I felt like saying Tuesday. It's not Tuesday. Tuesday was yesterday. Today's Wednesday. It is contracts. Westcott's here. We're going to talk about where he's headed. Fun at the commission, right? We'll talk about that in just a second. Fun at the commission. Being Wednesday, all the contracts lined up for you. We always rotate 9 o'clock. Vermont, Bettermont, as we say. When I took Spanish sophomore year of high school, didn't go well. Didn't go great. The best thing that came out of me taking, actually, that was freshman year. That was freshman year at Girton. That was when I was sent away to fix my grades. Yeah, freshman year at Girton. The best thing that came out of Spanish class was I found out that Timothy in Spanish is Timoteo, which you won't be shocked turned into Tim Tomato. So I was Tim Tomato for the year.
Yeah, no one's shocked by that.
Sounds like a bad clothing line. Yep, right.
Yep.
Like Lululemon, Tim Tomato. I actually want to make menswear for portly old men. We're going to call it Papa Pumpkin instead of Lululemon. Yeah, but it's in the works. And don't try to steal it. I've already got it all lined up. We already have the LLC. Anyway, so Vermont is today. That's 9 o'clock. Keller TV, all your contracts classes are there. Vermont at 9. You've got Maine at 10 o'clock, always on Wednesdays. And then 11 o'clock is New Hampshire. I trust that you won't be with us for that, Jason, because you're going to punch people in the face at the commission. We'll get there in a second. And then after contracts, all of that on Keller TV, never recorded. These are not evergreen conversations. They're important conversations. They're not evergreen, so we never record contracts, just so you understand. At 12 o'clock, the Smart Plan Library Workshop with the one and only Melissa Burke. That is in Portsmouth. Don't forget, when we do tech, it is always in person, so she can help you push all the buttons. That's nooner in Portsmouth in the training room. And that's your day pretty much set out. And as a friendly reminder, the DTD2, the Do the Database 2 to keep us out of call bias. This week, you are calling your T's and your J's, and you're texting your K's. Speaking of K's, a lack of home runs, the Red Sox are terrible. It's very disappointing. We were just talking about the Bruins and how their head coach got fired, gets sent out west, goes to Vegas, wins the Stanley Cup in his first year in Vegas. And we were discussing management and how terrible it is. And yeah, that could be the problem. So let's talk about managing New Hampshire contracts. You're heading out to play with the who's who of New Hampshire. What's getting voted on today? I know you're heading there for a vote, you had mentioned. What's that all about today?
I'm headed to NHAR, New Hampshire Association of Realtors, for the budget. Where there's going to be a lot of talk on the policy procedure stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just went to a leadership thing the other day with Ardona O'Carroll, I think is her name, who is like the person that NHAR talks to about this buyer agency issue we have going on, and leadership stuff as far as harassment goes. So the buyer agent thing that me and Jen have been talking about for a while, which is the 7 lawsuits that are happening in the mid part of the country from Vegas up to like Minnesota, has to do with MLSs and agents just not doing fiduciary duty amongst a buyer and a seller for what they promised each party. That's not going well for us as the Realtor Board Association. I will tell you that, whoa, I almost just got hit. Yep. Anyway,
where are you parked?
I am actually parked at Dunkin' Donuts at the Epping Circles, but a guy pulled in with his, big monster dually truck and almost hit me. Whatever. So there's going to be a lot of talk about that. And I will tell you guys, this clear cooperation stuff that you're hearing Jen and I talk about a lot. Me and Jen are doing a class on 6/27. It's going to be from noon to 2. I invite everybody. This is not a new agent. This is not a seasoned agent. This is not a veteran agent, team lead. I don't care who you are. You should be in this class because the fines are now here.
Yep.
The fines are now out. And I got to be honest with you. If something comes to come into question, we have to send your listing agreements off to the state. That's not what we want to be doing. So, because we do have fiduciary responsibilities of X and Y, of, I promised to pay a buyer agent X amount of apples, and the MLS is now saying Y amount of apples. Did your client really agree to that? Is that agency and tomfoolery is the word I'm going to use. So come and learn. It is different in every state. We're running scenarios. JV has it pretty much wrapped up as far as the law and the terminology and the stuff I've given her and our help. Great help from Alice Kubaki and Shannon Aldridge. We've all been diving deep into the different states because it's an MLS thing, so there are some state laws that come into play. The issues that we're having is some of the scenarios. So let me give you one that is one that we're trying to figure out right now at a high level. Mr. Lindsay comes to me and says, hey, Jay, I want to buy that property that over there that you have listed. I say, okay, great, Tim. You're going to be dual. You're going to be unrepped. Pick your poison. We're going to leave it there. On the offer, I write, the Lindsays want to buy your property, Mr. Seller, at 123 Main Street. But in order to that, they got to sell 578 Amazing Avenue in Straftopia. I just told them about a property that's coming to market that's not on market. We just broke clear cooperation.
Yeah.
But that's what's in the best interest of Tim, because Tim's saying, I don't want to sell my home until I get the house under agreement. We're hearing that in this market.
Sure.
We can't do that. So that's a scenario. Even, the other issue that we have is, maybe a possibly multi-state. I have a property in Rollinsford. My ethical obligation is to put that property in every MLS that we have. So I want to put it in Maine Flex, and I want to put it in New Hampshire Prime, or Paragon as we know it. There are two different rules there. Maine has a thing called coming soon no-show, which you could publicly market under a no-show category. In New Hampshire, you just broke clear cooperation. Properties in New Hampshire, but you can do it in Maine. So there's so much, and there's like 25 other vendors. This is another big one. My photographer's licensed. He got his license. We could have access to lockbox codes. Clear cooperation. Like there's just, every time I turn around, I got another list of 20 for me and Jen to talk about. So come to the class, learn about it. The brokerage is probably going to have some policies on this, guys. You know what I mean? As far as company policy. So, come and learn it. These are steep fines. They're coming fast. They can come quick. If you're in 2 states and you mess up, now all of a sudden, bam, 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 you're a $500 fine. You're in front of the board. You're losing MLS access. This is not going to be great. And I say this all the time. This is my one-on-one. If anybody's had a one-on-one with me about some of this stuff, or just some other type of contractual stuff, we got to remember that we are now. We're not the paint store anymore with the big red machine. We do have a target on our back.
1,000%.
Right? When we're in those all partners meeting and we're in first place, the people that are in second, in 19th, they want to move up. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because if we start losing our market share at a high level, the 19th person becomes the 5th place person. The 5th place person becomes, and that's money, right? I mean, competition is real. We're talking about that with the Bruins and all the rest of it. This is what happens. We have to help each other. And this is what I say to people, like mine and Tim's job, and Jen and all of us on leadership, is to protect the 700 some odd families that are here. Your job is to protect your family. And I appreciate that and understand that. But we have to do this together, because together is how we can get in some trouble, as a brokerage, or as an individual. And I don't want to see anybody lose their MLS access. So my job today is we're going up to NHAR. We're going to talk about this. I'm bringing some of the conversation as far as the brokerage, that the size that we are. I'm going up there as the president of the board. They are asking some questions from us because of our size. They are asking some of the other agencies that are bigger to have some honest conversations about it. So we're going up there today to see what we can do about maybe having a little bit of a voice of changing this. This is not a new rule. I want everyone to understand that. This was voted in 2019. It went in effect in 2020.
Nobody was paying attention. We were getting ready for COVID. Nobody cares. Nobody was paying attention, right?
Correct.
That's why we hammer all the time about the unprecedented access to our brokers. Yesterday, Maine Essential Forms was at 10 o'clock. Mondays and Fridays at 1 o'clock on Keller TV with Essential Forms and Ask the Broker. And, of course, today, there's always 3 hours every Wednesday. And missteps are going to be made. Mistakes are going to happen, and we know that. To Jason's point, it's when we start to become consistently in Concord on the carpet, or the given state that you serve, is when that's going to get even worse, because then it's going to look like, oh, they're really not. And the irony of this is, if we end up and just due to our size, I'm going to give us some grace, due to our size and our numbers, we may have more missteps than the average company because of the amount of people at our company. I appreciate that.
80-20 rule.
Although then it becomes, then they'll start to look the other way on even giving us, the benefit of the doubt, and judgment's going to get cast. And then that turns into a thing that totally against the code of ethics, but then that turns into conversation amongst other agents at other brokerages. And that starts circulating like, oh yeah, nobody over there knows what they're doing, and that eventually leaks to the ears of the civilians, and then we lose our trust with the public, and that's not where we want to be.
And people always say, like, why is Jen always up at the commission, and why are you always over at NHAR? It does help. And this is what Nathan has always preached to anybody that's spent time with Nate. He's either talking about two things: networking your business and buying a multifamily. We're going to leave the multifamily over here. This is what Nate's always talking about. When you get involved at your board level, I'm not going to say you get more grace, but people understand that who you are as a person. They understand what you do for your community. And it's a call. It's, hey, man, take that post down. It's not the report button. You know what I mean? So that's why we're constantly saying get involved with the boards, understand where this is coming from, understand the Realtor Association, understand your local people that you're doing business with within your area, right? Because you're going to meet other non-KW people. And it is. When I'm up there today, it's about the R, not the KW. You know what I mean? So,
sure.
They're asking me to bring the knowledge of the brokerage in, which is awesome. You know what I mean? But that's the bigger picture of the business is what the R is all about, and understanding that. And this is all about protecting buyers and sellers. That's what the R is for, the ethical side of it, and agents to agents. You know what I mean? Like with Nate, you ever have a conversation with Nate, even about apples? Nate's take on apples is very shocking for a lot of business people. They're like, I can't believe that Nathan believes that you should be doing everything with everybody, because Nathan believes that brings the best value to your client, right? And we talk about that a lot in contract class. But understanding that how this is evolving, and we've been talking about this buyer agency lawsuit, and this is just another part of it. NAR, the National Association of Realtors, is betting that this is going to cause a major loss of agents within the entire organization worldwide. How much are they saying? They're throwing out different numbers. It's a pretty high number, I'm going to be honest with you. When they're losing people, now are they enacting these fines to kind of offset some of this money? I don't know. Do I think this needs to happen? I do. I think there's been a lot of people kind of skating the gray line, if you will, on this pocket listing talk. And I just, the scenarios is what scares me, because sometimes what is best for a client, buyer or seller, or two parties, doesn't fit into this rule. Like I said about Tim trying to sell his house to buy this house. That's not great, but there are agents that do take advantage of it, like every other rule, right? So we're going to go up there and see what happens today. There'll be more information to come. I suggest all of you guys start reading competition.realtor.com. That's kind of where this is all stemming from, the buyer agency lawsuits that are coming out of the MLS by the DOJ, and this clear cooperation policy and how this mixes. There's going to be some votes come down at the national level. I need everybody to read these. I need everybody to pay attention to this vote, to try to advocate for this. If we lose at the DOJ level, they want all commission structures publicly facing. So when you go on Billo, it's going to say buyer agency fee of this, listing agreement fee of that. That is one less step of why they need us.
So to your point, and you were referencing things that fire out of the mouth of the great Nate Dickey, and involvement at the board level with any of our agents that are willing to raise their hand and be involved with their board is also important, because Nathan has always said if you don't have a seat at the table, you invariably have a spot on the menu, right? So you're either deciding or getting eaten. So it's really important to get involved. If you've got even the slightest interest in doing that, talk to JV, talk to Westcott about the opportunity of getting involved at your board. It's a great way to stay attached. It's a great way to stay top of mind. And to your point, it doesn't additionally give you any more grace, but it gives us face time. And again, like you said, everybody there is wearing the R, not their local brand. Us having a voice and us having a seat at the table is wildly important. And this is why contracts is so important, because if you're just hearing and understanding based on what Westcott just said in the last few minutes, what clear cooperation is turning into, because the conversation is getting expansive, right? And there's so many different scenarios, and that's why contracts is so important every 167 hours per your state, because the conversation's constantly changing. There's new scenarios happening. There's, we always talk about contracts, white paper, black ink. There is no nuance. Although during COVID, we created a lot of nuance. There are a lot of shades of gray out there, and there's creativity, and then there's corruption. And we got to be really careful about, right? We got to be really careful. We got to be really careful about what we are deciding might work. And there's absolutely no reason for anyone in our ecosystem, if this sounds judgy, it's friggin' mented. There's no reason anyone in our ecosystem should be going it alone and getting creative without having a conversation with Alice or Hamilton or Westcott or Vashon. They are a phone call and a text away, and there's great guidance right around the corner. And again, I would argue that you guys definitely have the answer, but you've always said, Jason, we are never the source. We're the source of the source. And the greatness of our company, I said this yesterday in Quantum Leap, is arguably now, if we do the math, we turn 19 July 1st. Yep. Our company has thousands of years, not even hours, thousands of years of experience, right? I got to roll Duffy and Dyke into the conversation to get to that 1,000 mark. And me, right? But like, we have thousands of years of experience. And that's when Nate's like, you know what? This happened back in 1942. Let me call Duffy, right? Or whatever. Like, we know who to call. Somebody's been through this, or you guys have heard about it at the board. Because that's the brilliance of you guys being, part of the board and constantly having those conversations. Is you sit and watch trials all the time. You guys have all the footnotes from all the stupidity that's taking place in the marketplace. And again, based on our size, we will have mistakes and missteps. Yep. And it shouldn't be because you said to Jason, you know what? I didn't know about that. I never go to contracts, or I went once in my freshman year. Yeah. And I know you guys are tired of hearing us talk about this. It's just so vitally important because we're no longer. I remember when Nate called me way back when, before I joined real estate, and he's like, I opened a Keller Williams, and I thought it was a paint store. And now we're a national brand that has more boots on the ground than anybody else. And they're absolutely coming for us because, to Jason's point, when we go over the numbers at the All Partners meeting, it's great for us that we are usually in first, occasionally in second. That makes us an enemy to everybody else. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So, they will all be coming for us. They will all be coming for us if we're not careful. And you guys are sharp, and we need you to be at your sharpest now because they are, to your point, with people exiting the industry, they're going to be looking at ways to recoup their money, right? Yeah. And they're going to do it through fees and fines. For sure. It's horrifying. And I don't say this as a scare tactic. I just say this to wake you guys up and make sure that everybody's dialed in because it's really important. And
it's one of those things, and we always go back to the average price point in the state right now just went up again. Right, it went up another 15 grand from last month. It's 465. That is your average home. So take your average town in your community. I live in Stratford. I would say the average price point in Stratford for me is Rochester. Right, you take an average home in Rochester. That should be around $400,000, $450,000. It's a lot of money. That's a Lamborghini, guys. You know what I mean? So when you're taking care of that asset, I don't care what it is, that asset goes awry, and it's something that you did because Tim always says that we like to look good and be right. The buyers and sellers are never wrong, even if they are. It always comes down to those 5 pieces of paper you had everybody sign, right? And that under the law is your responsibility. So, you are the representative of that buyer or that seller or both, depending on how you're representing that transaction. And then they break down into how clear with you with your representation. Right, that's the buyer agency problem that we're having. Applied buyer agency, non-agency, you know what I mean? So, that's where we talk. That's where these conversations are coming from. And contracts class in the compliance team is all about covering your butt. Like, let's be honest. That's what it's really for. It's for covering you. We do teach negotiation tactics, but it's to cover you that when the contract goes awry, and even a super clean contract does get questioned. You know what I mean? And I've seen attorneys and people go, well, that's what's in there. That's sorry, you know what I mean? But I've also seen contracts where we go, that's really vague. That's not great. And the attorneys go, it is. Let's discuss how we're going to settle it. You know what I mean? Yep. So, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to how to settle you and the end of it. And the other big thing that I would tell you guys too is that when something goes awry, insurance doesn't always have to cover it, depending on what it is. And then it comes down to possibly your wallet. Yeah. Even a $1,500 problem, right? I mean, you go to the realtor level, the mediation hearings, and you bam, $1,500. Hey, if anyone's got an extra $1,500, me and Tim will give you their Venmos. We spend about $1,500 a month on Pro V1s, so we would love a couple cases.
You're Tim down goes to that. You fixed your slice. You're down to $1,500. Good for you.
Yeah. Tim goes a little over that. He's got 2 sons firing him in the woods on his behalf.
Yeah. Look at. I got a 22 ball. I won't dare hit it. Yep. She's safe and sound on my desk. Yep.
But like I said, a $500 fine, $250 clear cooperation. That's money. That's real money. You know what I mean? And that gets passed on to you guys, and that has to be paid immediately, because when we get the fine as the brokerage, Nate pastes it on to you, and if you don't pay it, guess what happens to all of our MLSs?
Yep. Shut
They
her
hit
down.
the switch.
Shut her down.
Yeah.
And
So, I mean, you just don't want to be getting chased by MCA or a broker for $250 on something that you just couldn't wait another day to market it because you didn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get it. This clear cooperation stuff is super confusing. So come and learn about it. 627. We're doing a huge class on it. I do know the real estate schools will be putting them out years. I know they're looking to make this a CE class down the road. So, get into some of these classes that you guys can get into. Come here with me and Jen. I think me and Jen's is going to be the best. Why do I say that? Because some of the real estate schools are talking to us. So is an OPLC talking to us. And we are licensed in 4 states, and we're digging deep into all 4 states for you guys.
So Tuesday the 27th, Westcott, where is that? Is that Portsdale? Are we down here?
It's going to be in Port. Yeah, we decided
Okay.
Portsmouth, and we're going to go Zoom as well.
Okay.
Portsmouth's just the biggest because we are expecting a full house.
Yeah, sure. So, all right, so Portsmouth, but it will be on Keller TV from 12 to 2 on the 27th. It's a busy week because then the 29th, it's JV's birthday. And
she's going to be
halftime
21
business
again.
planning clinic. So, yes. Good stuff. All right, sir, I'll let you get on the way. Don't get hit at Dunkin' Donuts. If you do, at least stop for a coffee and a bagel, right? But
Oh, I'm here. I'm going to grab one before I head into this epic conversations that we're about to have.
yeah. Enjoy yourself. We appreciate you being a force for good at these meetings, and we'll see you in and around the Market Center. If you do need help, you do have questions, comments, concerns, again, the access to our brokers is second to none. You can find Jason at 603-234-2589. His face will be busy yelling at other people today. But again, when you do reach out to our brokers, anybody at our company, if we don't take your call right away, it's because we're with someone else. We'll get to you as soon as possible. We're all here to help. The entire staff is here to make sure that you are powered by the best. So we are failing forward every day to make sure that we stay on top of things and pass that information on to you. 12 to 2 in Portsmouth and on Keller TV on Tuesday the 27th is that massive conversation about clear cooperation. So please join Westcott and JV for that. We'll see you in contracts on Keller TV for Vermont and Maine and then New Hampshire today, all morning long. If I can help with anything, it's 603-834-2856. And you can book my face at meetwithcoach.com. Westcott, have a phenomenal day. Drive safely, sir. See you, bud.